Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre was back in Montreal today. This time it was to meet with the Assembly of First Nations. And Maya, as expected, he had some harsh words for the federal government.
He did, Mitsumi. Pierre Poilievre was in Montreal to address First Nations leaders at the AFN's General Assembly, and he took shots at the Trudeau government, saying First Nations chiefs are tired of, quote, performative reconciliation. The Assembly of First Nations represents more than 600 First Nations across the country, and hundreds of First Nations chiefs were gathered for this assembly, which started on Tuesday and wrapped up today. Now, there have been tensions, strained relations between the AFN and previous Conservative Party leaders, including Stephen Harper and Andrew Scheer. This was Poilievre's first time addressing the Assembly of First Nations face-to-face since he's become the Conservative Party leader. Until now, he's only sent in pre-recorded remarks. Here's part of what he had to say in person today.
For too long, you've been held back by a broken system that takes power away from you and places it in the hands of politicians and bureaucrats in Ottawa. That's why I'm committed to ending the Ottawa knows best paternalistic system. As you know, the Indian Act puts reserved land and money in the hands of the federal government, which means you often have to go to Ottawa to ask for tax revenues collected from resource development on your very own lands. No other government has to do that.
Now, after the speech, there was a brief question and answer period with First Nations leaders, and some have expressed anger and disappointment, saying Poilievre didn't actually address key Indigenous issues, including missing and murdered Indigenous women, residential school survivors, and whether he would support a proposed child welfare settlement worth $47.8 billion. We spoke to the newly elected Grand Chief of the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake and asked what he thought of the exchanges with Poilievre. Here's what he had to say.
If you want true reconciliation, then you need to meet with every community, because every community and every nation is separate. That's just a body where we can get together to be able to push common issues or celebrate common goals. So that's where it would start, but to come to that forum, only give 30 minutes. You have, a room full of hundreds of delegates. Only 4 to 5 people are able to speak at a time or at all. It's really not the place to have it. So if I'll say in general, if all of these party leaders want to try and have meaningful dialogue, then you need to get boots on the ground and meet directly with First Nations, and not for these settings where you're kind of just addressing us all at once and then you're off to the next function.
Now, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh also gave a speech at the AFN Assembly today, but it seems it was Poilievre's speech that got most of the attention. Mitsumi?
Thanks very much, Maya.